Hello everyone. My name is Melissa Faust from stampwithmelissa.com. Welcome to my YouTube channel and for a really fun video today talking all about markers. So I am specifically going to talk in today's video about Stampin' Up's Stampin Blends, which are alcohol-based markers. And then I will also talk about the Stampin' Write markers, which are water-based. So we're going to dive into those two. I'm going to show you kind of some of the differences of them, some fun things that you can do with each of them that the other one doesn't do, if that makes sense, and things like that. So just a quick note, I am a Stampin' Up demonstrator, so if you do see anything you like in today's video, you can actually order it in my online store. You can find the link to go shopping. Of course, who doesn't love some retail therapy, right? You can find the link to go shopping down in the description of this video. Also down there is going to be a link to a blog post that goes up on my blog all about markers. So if you want to go check that out, you can. We are going to make a card today and I will have photos of that card over on that blog post as well. So make sure you go and check that out, okay? But let's go ahead and dive in and talk all about Stampin' Blends and Stampin' Write markers and all things Stampin' Up markers. Okay, so you can see here, I've got my Stampin' Write markers here, and then I've got my Stampin' Blends to the side. Now, let's talk a little bit about Stampin' Blends first. So we offer these in a ton of different colors. I'm going to try to sneak here, I might have to move my mat. I'm going to try to sneak this into the frame. I just don't know how because it's so jam-packed. But we have a ton of Stampin' Blends. And I store mine in this really cool holder from Stampin' Storage. So it actually holds 45 blends, and I'm going to tell you, that's not enough. You can see I am completely full here. Okay, I'm going to stand this back up and try to sneak it back into place without everything falling. But we run out of space. We have more than 45 Stampin' Blends. So if you are going to pick one of those up from Stampin' Storage, I do recommend the 60 holder. Definitely worth it. Stampin' Up also does sell some storage, so you can go that route as well. And those ones stack up on top of each other, which is pretty cool. So we've got these beautiful Stampin' Blends. These are alcohol-based markers. And when you purchase a Stampin' Blend, it comes in a combo pack. So this is the Calypso Coral color, and you get a light and a dark within the same combo pack, okay? And you can see here it says Dark Calypso Coral Alcohol-Based Ink, okay? Now, just because I know somebody will probably ask in the comments where I got these little labels from. Now, when you store your Stampin' Blends, you want to store them flat, okay? And I do not have the space to store it so that this part is facing out and having them all stacked so I can see the colors. So I actually created these blends labels myself, and I do sell them on my website, so I'll have that linked in the blog post below as well if you'd like to purchase this. It's a digital download. You can buy it, print it, punch these out with a 3/8 inch circle punch, and then add them to your caps with a glue dot. And this way I know what color it is just from looking at it in my little holder. Same thing here, we've got the light, and you can see them here. So these are alcohol-based blends. So let me grab my messy scrap paper. Now, if you are new here, I'm just going to let you in on a secret. I love my scrap paper. I love it, but I got to find a spot that's relatively open, and we've got some right here in the middle. We've got some white space here, so I can show you these. So the Stampin' Blends have two ends. We've got a brush tip end. Sorry, there we go. You can see that better, okay? Like that. Then we've also got a fine tip or bullet point end. And you can actually write with these, but these actually work great when you're coloring in images and you've got like a little bit of space. These work great, okay? Now the idea with the Stampin' Blends is that you can actually blend the colors together to get that ombre effect. So here's the light Calypso Coral, and I'm gonna start within that dark and just go out a little bit. And you can see right now, it's pretty obvious to see where the dark and the light are, but in a little bit, that's gonna blend together and just give you a really beautiful seamless look there, okay? So those are the Stampin' Blends. And then, oh, let me tell you too, so the type of ink you would use with this, you're going to stamp your images in a Tuxedo Black Memento ink. Now, our Stampin' Up pads too, they do work, but these are water-based pads, so just know that, you know, your Stampin' Blends might bleed out a little bit or cause your stamped images to be a little bit blurry. So that is why I like to use the Tuxedo Black Memento ink pad whenever I'm using my Stampin' Blends. So we will, in the card we're going to make, I'll show you that. Okay, but then we also have Stampin' Write markers. Now we do have these in every single color family. So you can see regals, neutrals, brights, and both sets of our current in colors. Okay, let me set those to the side. And then I've got the subtles out here because we're going to use these today. And these are really cool. Now, Stampin' Up! Just recently redesigned these, and so I actually do have the new design. I'm going to pull out both my Petal Pink and my Soft Seafoam because we are going to use those later. But you can see they come in this cute little plastic case so you can keep them all together. I did want to add, there is a layer of like protective plastic around this when you get this, so don't be alarmed. You can kind of maybe see it on this one. See how the one in my right hand is so shiny and then this one's not as much because there's still that protective layer of plastic on those. Okay, so just know that that's there. You can pull it off. You could leave it if you want. I'm sure you could. So okay, so the markers are similar to our Stampin' Blends in that they have two ends. Okay, they've got a brush tip end and that point tip end here. My Stampin' Blends don't say what that point is on this end, but you can see that the pictures they use are very similar, so they might be very similar tips. Let's see. Well, you can see that the marker is a little bit of a finer point than my Stampin' Blend. Okay, let's check this other side here. We've got our beautiful brush ends, which look very similar. Okay, so the Stampin' Write markers are water-based, so you can also just use them to color, right? Totally, you could use them to color if you're into scrapbooking or journaling. Or you just like to have fancy markers, you can use them to write also. These are water-based, so they aren't going to bleed, where the Stampin' Blends are going to bleed a little bit, kind of like a Sharpie, right? And so these are really, really cool. They've also got that name on there. Now, when you become proficient, like I am, in Stampin' Up! Colors, I looked at this and I knew exactly which one was Petal Pink, and I knew that that was the one I wanted, okay? So that is this, and then this only comes in the one color. You don't get the double like these, because these blends you use to color and blend together. These are more just a standard marker, okay? Now, what's cool about these water-based Stampin' Write markers is that you can actually color on your stamps themselves with these markers. Do not do it with your blends because I don't know if you'll ruin your stamp, but with the water-based, you can absolutely do that. So we are going to make a card now, and I'm going to show you lots of different ways to color. So let me close that up. We might leave it out. I don't know. Should we leave it out? No, we don't need to. I love my messy scrap paper. All right, so we're going to make a card. I've got most of that base done because you don't need to watch me do that. And we're going to start here. And we're going to do lots of different kinds of coloring and put them all together on one card so you can see the difference, okay? So I'm going to stamp this flower image in Tuxedo Black Memento ink, like so, okay? I'm also going to stamp two of these smaller flowers in Tuxedo Black. This is just my preferred black ink, so that's why I'm going to use it for these. Okay, stamp a couple of those. And then we're going to go ahead and color these in before we move on because we're going to need some leaves too, right, with flowers. Now, let me show you how to use the Stampin' Blend. So I personally, there are different ways you can do this. I want to start off, right? Creativity is personal. So you find a way that works for you and you do that. That's just like how it has to be, okay? That's the only rule of being creative. Now, the way I learned how to use Stampin' Blends and my preferred way is how I'm going to show you, okay? And I will tell you what another way is that I see done commonly or frequently, but I am going to show you what I prefer to do. So I start with my dark blend, and I start with that brush tip end. You can again start with the bullet point end if you've got a smaller image, and I'm going to go anywhere on this big flower here that I think there might be like a shadow or that I want a little bit of a darker feature, okay? And I'm going to color all of those first. All right, so you can see I'm just kind of swooping around a little. There's really no rhyme or reason. Get in these little dots here. Swoop, 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 swoop. Okay, and then what I like to do is take the light one and I go in and I always color in a circular motion. And I go in and just color with my light and make sure I blend in with that darker color. Okay, this is where you will see those colors will begin to fade into one another. And it is so beautiful, okay? Now, the other way that I see commonly done is that people will start with their light. They will color in the whole image in light, and then they go back in with the dark to do their blending or their, darker features, I guess we'll say. Now, whatever way, like try it both ways, and whatever way you like best, just do it that way, okay? All right, so those are with the Stampin' Blends. Now these flowers, we're gonna color in with a Stampin' Right marker, just so you can see that difference, okay? So again, I'm gonna use that brush tip, and we're going to just color in our little flower here. You can see, right, they're markers, so they work the same way. You use them the same way, you just color. Okay, and we'll do this one as well. This bundle is kind of fun. It doesn't have any like definitive ends, right? Those lines don't completely close. So there we go. You can see that there, right? So you can see the difference here between my blended flower and then also my just colored with the Stampin' Right markers. And then what I'm going to do last here is we're going to take this leaf image, and we're going to color on the leaf image directly with our soft seafoam, so I can show you what that looks like, okay? And this works. I love to do this, but I do find it works a little bit better with our red rubber stamps over our photopolymer. But you can still do it with photopolymer. So you can see I've got my marker flat, and I am just coloring over the top. Now, soft seafoam is an incredibly light color, and so you can't see it super duper duper well. But I can tell there's color getting on there, okay? Now, our ink maybe has dried a little bit on our stamp, so before we stamp it down, we're gonna huff on it. Ready? You know what I mean when I say that, right? And then stamp it down, and look at how beautiful. So when you color directly on the stamp, you get kind of a cool, I got a little bit of a cool watercolor effect there, and I love that. I think it's beautiful. Okay, and then finally, just because we're gonna do some stamping in the color too, right? We just gotta show you what that looks like. I am just going to stamp 2 leaves like that in garden green, okay? So then I'm gonna go ahead and die cut this all out. And we're going to assemble these together on our card so you can see the difference. Now, what I could have done differently, right? I like that tuxedo black here for my Calypso Coral flower. But with my Stampin' Right markers, I could have used Petal Pink ink to stamp down these little flowers. I just thought it might look a little funny if this one had the black ink and the other ones didn't. But our leaves don't have it at all, so they've got that continuity there. Okay. So I'm using the mini Stampin' Cut and Emboss machine here. Just to, whoops, bump around my pieces a little bit. You know, I did not stamp the insides of my leaves, which I could do. There is a stamp actually in this set that I could do that with. So let's go ahead and crank these through. Oh, my leaf moved. That's okay. We're committed. You guys get the real deal here. We'll just hide it in the background, okay? Let me grab all these pieces here. We will not use those ones again, so I'm going to shift them to the side and grab out my pieces that have die cut. And then we've got to die cut just these last 2. This last flower and the last leaf. Hopefully this time my leaf die doesn't move on me, but it's going through first, so it should be okay. Wiggle, wiggle, wiggle. Okay, so those are all die cut out. Like I said, I am going to stamp the insides of these leaves here real quick. So let me move this out of the way. Then let's grab this set here. I am using Darling Details from the 2023 to 2024 annual catalog, in case you're curious which bundle I'm using for this. I'm going to pull these in, and I'm actually going to pull my messy scrap paper in, and I'm going to show you. So we're going to have 4 different types of coloring on this card. Okay, so I've got my garden green back out. I'm just going to ink this up, stamp it off once, and then we'll stamp the inside of the leaf there. And same thing here. Okay, so we've got those 4 different types of coloring, which are all very cool. But you got to see how to use those markers. Okay, so let's go ahead and assemble our card. All right, so I'm going to add some dimensionals to the back of my largest flower. And the fun thing too that you can do with like the Stampin' Blends and such is you can actually splatter with them. So you can take the cap off. I'm not going to do it, but you can flick from your cap, which will splatter your card, which is kind of neat too. All right, let's just add some adhesive here. And I'm going to sneak these under a little bit. Okay. And then we'll add some liquid glue to these because they're so teensy. Just sneak a little bit on there. And yeah, we'll put it up here. Same thing here, but we made a little oopsie on this one, so we got to cover it up. Okay, so we'll go like that. And then we'll grab this one and tuck this one under as well. Whoa, that one moved. I must not have pushed it down hard enough. There we go. Okay. And then we're just going to add a cute little sentiment, which I also did ahead of time. We'll just add a couple of dimensionals there. And stick that onto our card like that. All right, so there's our card. Of course, you can jazz this up a little bit more with ribbon or twine or embellishments or whatever, but you know, the main point here was to show you all that different coloring. So we've got our Stampin' Blends, we've got our Stampin' Write markers, we've got our Stampin' Write markers direct to stamp, and then we've also got just an ink to image, right? Just using ink and stamps. So, yeah, I think that that turned out pretty cool, and I'm glad you can see that comparison there. I hope you enjoyed today's video learning all about the different kinds of markers, Stampin' Blends and Stampin' Write markers from Stampin' Up. If you do have any questions, please either leave a comment here on YouTube or head over to that blog post that's linked in the description box below and leave a comment there on my blog post. I'll be sure to get back to you with the best answer I can. And if you have any other tips for using Stampin' Blends or Stampin' Write markers, maybe you've used them in a fun way, please share those in the comments as well so that everyone can see. If you could please give this video a big thumbs up, that really helps me out on YouTube, and make sure to subscribe to my YouTube channel if you haven't already, and turn on the notification bell so you can be notified whenever I post a video or go live, okay? All right, I hope you enjoyed today's video all about markers, and I will see you guys next time. Bye for now.